Hey, it's Mac, and this is going to be really short. I want to talk about why Brittany's team doesn't want you to watch Julia's video. I think Julia does a really great job of pointing out the inconsistencies in Lynn's stories over the years. And like just as an example, Lynn says in her book that she wishes she hadn't quit teaching, right? Because she did that for Britney, right? To go on the road with Britney. Except remember, she hired Felicia to go on the road with Britney because she had to stay home with Jamie Lynn. Remember? So, I mean, Julia does a great job in talking about Lynn's character. And even more importantly, how she wasn't there for Britney. Now, here's the thing. History is full of examples of whistleblowers being discredited by tearing apart their character. Valerie Harper is an actress who took on the studio and said, I deserve to be paid more. I'm the star of this show. The studio turned around and called her a mentally ill addict. Alanis Morissette's business manager ripped her off, called her an addict. Anytime a woman stepped out of line and her husband didn't want to deal with her, for hundreds of years, the husband could lock her up in an asylum and basically throw away the key. Jamie Spears' own father did that to at least two of his wives. Locked him up, called him crazy, and didn't have to deal with him. That's how this works, right? You want to undermine somebody, make people think that they're crazy. So Julia comes along and she puts together a video that's extremely articulate and points to examples. There was only one thing in the video that wasn't quite right, and it was the story about the Rolling Stones cover. And I think it's just because she didn't have access to the interview that came out recently, which said, Lynn was actually, her story about the photo isn't true. It was taken on the living room floor. It's a small house. That's the only clarification I have for that video. So all of that being said, right, Julia makes such a sound, logical argument for her opinions that I don't think the team wants people to hear it, right? Because when Britney says something, nobody takes it seriously because the world has been convinced that she's a mentally ill addict. And Julia was telling me, she's like, I'm saying I think Britney says she's not allowed to go to Mexico. And Julia says people online are talking about how she wants to go to Mexico to get drugs. That's why she wants to go there. Even though we've all seen her go there and post pictures of her sitting on the beach and playing in the water and looking, sober. So I say to her, I'm like, but where did they get that idea? Where did the internet get the idea that Britney was going to Mexico for drugs? Oh, I don't know. Kate Hudson? Kate Hudson, would you like to step into the spotlight? Because I believe you told Billy Bush that she goes to Mexico to get drugs. I believe that he put that story out there. And if he would like to say that he didn't put that story out there, then he's going to have to play Billy's video back and explain why, in the same breath, Billy says he's friends with you and X, Y, and Z is happening. So nobody would think that Britney was going to Mexico to get drugs if it weren't people on her payroll telling the tabloids that that's what she's doing. So anytime it says sources, that's not just anybody. That's not just random people. That's people on Britney's payroll informing on her. And I bet you, I think, I can't prove it, but I strongly suspect that Kate Hudson signed an NDA with Lou Taylor and TriStar. Now, Lou's NDAs are like Sean Combs' NDAs. So if there is an NDA out there that prevents him from talking about Britney Spears, it should be enforced. But better yet, how about he gets fired? Because his little puff piece with Dan Wakefield, telling Dan Wakefield that Britney has complete editorial control of her Instagram account, is not true. So he's out there telling stories that protect him as a person and make her look crazy. That's the end game there. Because as long as people look at her Instagram account and think she's crazy, nobody takes her seriously. And when someone like Julia steps into the mix and articulates things that confirm what Britney has said, then that makes Britney seem like maybe she's not so crazy. And if Britney isn't crazy, then maybe some of the allegations that she's made against this team are actually true. And maybe there should be an investigation. Maybe somebody should come looking for that missing money after all. Now, there's one thing that just has not gotten enough coverage. And it's when the idea for the conservatorship actually came about. I believe that by the end of November, when they put Felicia up to talking about Britney, and Felicia got to be a source close to Britney, I believe the plan was in play by November 2006. I can't prove that. What I can point to, though, is I can say that by February 23rd, 2007, the plan was in play. So this article says, Jamie Spears told Fox News that the troubled singer is a sick little girl. We're just trying to take care of her, and other than that, I have no comment. Spears said his daughter's issues are not what other people think. This is a talking point that he would go on to repeat for years and years and years, adding that he and his ex-wife Lynn are concerned about their daughter. And what's so nice about this article is that it mentions so many of the key players, including Kevin Federline and Larry Rudolph, who was happy to confirm that Britney was at Promises Malibu Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Center in Southern California. So this is not typical public relations work. In fact, the allegation that Jamie is making right here is a threat to the Britney brand. The Britney brand that had pulled him out of poverty and covered his expenses for 10 years at this point, at least. You don't threaten the brand unless you have a bigger play in mind. And that's how I know that by February 23rd, 2007, the team had already been assembled, the plan was already in full steam ahead mode, and all of them were involved. And what's worse is that she doesn't meet Sam Letfie for another 3 months in May 2007. So they all ran to court and said that Sam was the impetus for the conservatorship, when clearly the plan was in motion well before he even came into the picture.